Welcome, part two. The first one we kind of discussed the reasons why Bibi Netanahyu wants to eliminate the Palestinians. I do not believe for one instance he's interested in getting rid of Hamas. According to what I see, according to them, all Palestinians are Hamas. That's further from the case. Part of the reason why neoliberalism has been the virus that has kind of poisoned the Democratic Party for such a long time in the United States is the fact that they will always side with the elite who finances their campaigns and put together a slush fund and promises of jobs right after they leave Senate or the White House, give them jobs as lobbyists, so forth and so forth, and they make tons and tons of money. The idea is to warp the Republican ideologue to something that it sounds like we tried our best for the people, but and try to give the people a less than mediocre explanation of why they voted the way they did. And usually it is vote for the very, very wealthy. And in doing so, Delaware is very much a part of making corporations millions and billions of dollars every year because of the fact that they pay tax. The tax laws are very, very lax in Delaware. That's why many companies go there to actually establish a corporation, like an articles corporation. I don't know what the bylaws are, but they're so lax that the tax base is so low that if you want to establish yourself, lawyers will file on behalf of you if you want to incorporate so that you can get the most out of the tax out of it. And that's how many companies operate. They operate on the assumptions of making as much money as they possibly can to satisfy their shareholders. And in doing so, they enrich the people that got them rich in the first place. And I'm not talking about workers either. I'm talking about politicians, the lawyers, the judges. They're the ones who put in as much money into the company, and they get back tons, 10, 15, 150% more on their return on their investments. And that's grossly absurd. And in doing so, it kind of pisses Americans off. And for the last 50 years or so, Washington insiders, especially the biggest heavyweight of them all, the biggest Potomac uh, part of the Potomac Club has always been Joseph Biden. Now, he's also a representative, was a representative, a senator, a former senator from Delaware. So, as you know, he has benefited so much in the 50 years that he's been in D.C. Why is this a problem? So he bends this to the ear to the elite. Not so much in the last maybe 3 or 4 years he's been in office, but the downfall of Biden in this election will be Israel. No doubt about it in my mind. I think Trump was going to win by default because of how popular Biden is on this very issue. I can look at any poll now. I've looked at polls before, and I'll tell you one thing. Polls do not lie. If you take a little sample, especially in a heavily Democratic area, let's just say, for instance, like Southern California, for example, a bastion of Hollywood elites, migrant workers, a huge minority base in there. And they have a tendency to be progressively to the left of a lot of issues. Now, you take that group and you take Biden versus any Republican. That Republican's going to win. On a totally imaginary poll that I just made up. Why would I say that? Because a lot of times the best interests of the people far outweigh how much money Biden can make in return. Let me state it a different way. Biden profits from listening to the elite. Now, world opinion, and you talk about Western Europe, and also Europe is a very progressive, democratic, socialist continent collectively. That they have much more influence in the politics of their own countries, that they're willing to export their brand to other parts of the world, including the Russians and the Chinese, because they also have adapted to that democratic socialist philosophy. And there's being exported out to areas on the spheres of influence of South America, Central America, and Africa. Why is this important? Because world opinion frowns upon genocide. It frowns upon war. It frowns upon state-sponsored terrorism, any forms of terrorism. As you can see, America has lost their footing and their credibility as a superpower. because much more people are leaning towards what China is doing to other countries. What China is doing is pretty much they say, you know what, war's not the answer. All right, we'll build your infrastructure for you. We'll put companies in for you. We'll train your people for you in your own country. Just give us the rights to your resources. And they're doing that in Africa, and it's very much appealing to them, to those African countries. Now, there's like many different countries in Africa. Guess what? They're going to side with the Chinese. They're going to side with the Russians. When it comes to the core issues of state-sponsored violence, they're going to say to the United States that this is wrong. And pretty much they have representatives inside the United Nations that tell other countries that what Israel and the United States is doing to the Palestinians is wrong. Now, if you look at Joe Biden, he's still smart as a tack. But also very old and known his sins are starting to come by to haunt him. And this is one issue is where he's in bed with AIPAC, Benjamin Netanyahu, and how much weapons our administration is willing to give to Israelites to attack the Palestinians. So Biden and his family gets grossly enriched because the stock market goes high every time a weapon is sent to Israel, especially in the weapons manufacturing sector, or as much people call it, the military industrial complex. Now, they benefit as well as Biden does. What does AIPAC and the military industrial complex have on Biden? I want to bet they have a whole hell of a lot. I'm not a Republican conspiracy theorist to tell you how shady Biden is. Because what's going to happen? Is he going to pull Obama Menendez and blame his wife for all the problems that he's get himself? Trump wasn't in office in 2021. He was out of office. So he cannot take responsibility for Biden's actions. But basically, as much as the political elite try to control the narrative, young kids will go to TikTok and other forms of multimedia platforms, educate themselves on a lot of topics and go contrary to what the teacher in the textbook say when it comes to stuff like this. Right now, no matter how hard Israel tries to censor the press out there, they're still this information getting out to the public. Why? Because some people on the inside know what's going on is wrong, and those people on the inside may or may not be, should be commended for giving out the information that we need to find out the whole truth, the whole story. Many journalists have given their lives for trying to speak the truth. Now, what is the truth in Israel? They're trying to silence the fact that they've been engaging in a war to reduce the population of the Palestinians. Pretty much a genocide. Bibi Netenahyu in the world, as the influence even grows even further to both alienate both Israel and the United States. Time will tell if Biden's going to be served papers from the International Criminal Courts on charges against him, his administration, the senators, AIPAC, whether they should be tried for genocide. I'm just going to wrap it up. The question is, should Biden be tried for being part of the conspiracy, of the genocide? Okay. Yeah. So this is how I'm going to wrap it up. The ICC is looking at all angles, and it's trying to do like Dragnet. In the next couple months, Biden, as well as the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State. There's another one. All are going to be ended up getting indicted for crimes against humanity inside of Gaza Strip. All I don't know all this is because the writing's on the wall. When the United States is pretty much trying to I do believe Biden should stand trial for crimes against the Palestinians. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with that at this point. As soon as it's done now, you're not hearing much all of these conflicts because chances are the Palestinian forces are pretty much defending what little they have. And pretty much are willing to do anything not to go to jail. That's all I have.